Piladi, certainly these are big numbers and they're not positive numbers. Take us through what's unfolded, what we've just heard from the AG.
So not only big numbers, Michelle, but dizzying numbers. I'd urge anyone watching to actually whip out a calculator if they can. So you mentioned that unauthorized expenditure was at 2.1 billion, fruitless and wasteful expenditure was at 2.5 billion, and irregular expenditure at 51 billion. So now Kimi Makwetu is saying that's the number that he's concerned about, because that is just pure monies that are used in vain, that had added no value to any department, national, provincial, or any of the SOEs who are implicated in contributing to that. And I think what was interesting for me is looking at irregular expenditure, that about 28 billion of that is contributed by just two of the SOEs that they audited, which is Eskom and SAA. So it's quite concerning, Michelle, actually, to know that those two who are struggling, we know they've been asking for bailouts and that they're in quite a dire financial situation, are such big contributors to the problem.
Now, Piladi, isn't it ironic that Pravin Gordhan has been on the stand testifying about this very issue just moments ago as the AG was announcing these, as you say, these dizzying numbers? And what Pravin Gordhan was saying is that his advice to the State Capture Inquiry is to follow the money. Certainly it seems that's what the Auditor-General is doing.
Definitely, and I think even though these numbers were quite devastating to the AG, who's noticed an upward trend every year that these numbers are announced, is that the Public Audit Amendment Bill is on its way to being signed into law. Now, what this bill will do for the Auditor-General is give him the power to use some of the audit findings to begin and pass it on to investigating authorities. It'll give him the authority to issue certificates of debt, which will help in collecting monies that weren't accurately corrected at the time, and making sure that we aren't looking to future budgets to finance failures of the past. So it'll give him powers, I think, to maneuver a bit more tangibly with these audit results as they come out every year.
Piladi, that's the question, isn't it? Just in terms of this Public Audit Amendment Bill, is that we see these dizzying numbers in terms of maladministration, money that's misspent, as you say, money that is difficult to account for. But in terms of this Public Audit Amendment Bill, does it mean that heads will roll? I think that would be the question that taxpayers will be asking.
Well, essentially, yes, that is the idea, Michelle. So let's focus on the certificate of debt, for instance. It won't be just issued to a department, but it will be issued to the people who are authorized to oversee certain payments and failed to do so. So individuals will directly be implicated, and they will be held to account when those irregularities arise, so that even if they are out of office at the time that it does come up, a single person can be pinpointed and taken to task. And I think what he actually was saying that they're very excited about this, because for too long they've been coming with these figures year in, year out, and because there's no risk for the people who are responsible, they just continue with this kind of irregular and wasteful expenditure, knowing that nothing will happen. Now, they're hoping that this amendment bill will be signed in before Parliament rises at the end of this year, so that they can begin doing that work in earnest next year. Another thing that came out, Michelle, is that, he was saying there's a lot of resistance in the environment they operate in, giving some examples of auditors who, go into audit a particular provincial department, national department, and they come out to their cars at night and find their tires slashed, for instance. People receiving threatening messages, some people escaping with their lives just for doing their jobs. So he's hoping that this bill will help give them some kind of protection in that regard, and make sure that people actually begin to following the rules and stop acting so carelessly and recklessly with the public purse.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a dangerous business trying to fight corruption. Thanks very much for that update. Our reporter, ENCA's Piladi Situsa.